going on, YouTube? John back with you with a once again long overdue update. Got to apologize for dragging my feet on these things. Just been super busy in the music world, finishing up at least the writing process on the projected record, and then our trip, a couple trips out to California has kind of kept me occupied. But anyways, back at it, and I figure I'll go ahead and start with these guys. You can see they are shredding the the fake plant. This is Ragnarok and B. They have, let's see, they got a handful of fries still in here. Well, I call them fry, but they're actually more garrots than anything. He's been acting like his tube hasn't really dropped much, but he's been acting like he's ready to spawn. So you can see she's got a few nicks on her where they've been kind of chasing each other. She tends to go over and hide under this piece of wood that he can't get to, but you see she's got it all dug out all the way down to the bottom. But go ahead and give these guys a little bit of food. They get a mixture of power feed, and I'm actually mixing it up with a little bit of veggie krill these days. Been kind of giving everyone a little bit of veggie krill. But yeah, these guys are doing good. They usually chew it up, and then these guys eat all the scraps and the leftovers from when they're eating. You can see a lot of it coming out of her gills. But yeah, these guys have been doing good ever since we moved them in here. Only kept a handful of the fry from them, and the reason that I moved these guys in here with them was to kind of keep them from spawning. Didn't want them going too soon. And so far so good. It has worked. Although they have been making piles and moving rocks and digging pits. They've dug a pit back there. No matter where I put this plant, they move it. So I kind of gave up. And obviously the biggest pit you can see is down under here. Just basically where she hides. But he spends a lot of time down here with her. They pretty much hang out the whole time. Every now and again he'll chase her and she'll go down the far end of the tank, and you got to excuse the different colors here. These are regular full spectrum bulbs, and of course I blew one out, and the only thing they had in stock up at PetSmart was a Color Max. So we have tan and then we have pink. Not a big fan, but it'll at least do until I can get another bulb in here. Order one on Amazon. But yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on in here right now. She's put on a good bit of size since she's been in here. He hasn't done a whole lot of growing in length, but he has definitely started to thicken up a good bit. And like I said, we sit over there. That's where we watch TV, so we can hear him moving rocks the whole time. We'll be, you know, hanging out in there. Anyways, we'll move over here to the office, which is where we have our Trimax up top. I just did water changes on this tank and did a little bit of a rescape. You can see the female down here. Actually, we'll go ahead and we'll feed these guys too. These guys get a mixture of the same. They get veggie krill and they get power feed. And there's a little bit of large in here that I still have mixed in. These guys are amazingly good eaters once they discover the food, especially the female. You can see Junior over here. He's always a little gun shy with the camera for some reason or another. But she never misses a meal. He'll discover the food in a minute if I leave him alone. Down bottom, we have, I believe, about a dozen left in here. It was hard for me to count. I counted 24 when they were all out and about, and I moved about 8 or 9 out. So yeah, I figure a dozen, maybe 15 are still in here. I'll be keeping these, and everything that I pulled outside we'll be getting rid of. I've had a few people that have been asking me about them. It's just virtually impossible to get these guys out of this thing easily. Excuse the algae, we got a little bit of algae on the glass. But yeah, these guys are doing pretty good. I've had a handful of them looking like they're going to pair off, and I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I let them do it or separate them, because they are related. But But yeah, other than trying to get these guys out of there quickly, it's a pretty cool species. They stay smaller, not hyper aggressive, pretty personable. At least these guys in here. Now the ones that I moved outside into the 40 breeder, they're probably going to be more of a no-show. They tend to hide around the back of the tank, especially when there's activity. This room tends to get a good bit more activity. So there you go. You can see Junior and Sissy. Obviously he's been chasing her, because you can see he's got a few dings on him. He has a very, very difficult time getting under this little cave here. But yeah, no spawning out of these guys. We still haven't really figured out what's going on with them. They are related, so I'm not really super, big on trying to spawn them. But I was hoping that we could at least get a little bit of practice, because eventually she'll probably end up moving on, and I'll either try to get a wild female or something else. But yeah, they're doing pretty good, other than the normal him chasing her to death. So yeah, all right. We'll go out into the garage, which is where most of what we got going on in the fish world actually lives. Put the top back on this, otherwise my dog will come in and steal it. And the first tank we have is the 410 with Hyperion. You'll notice Frigg is not in the tank with him. Frigg is actually in a tank underneath right now. She's down at a 75. They spawned and they were really, really good for a little while, and then I noticed that she had a couple marks on her mouth, and we pulled her out just to be on the safe side. You can see there's only a handful of fry free swimmers still in here. I left only a handful in here, partly because they were virtually impossible to catch them all, and secondly because once I do reintroduce her in here, if they spawn, they'd be a nice distraction, and if they don't, hopefully they'll just go back into parental mode. As soon as I pulled her out of this tank, he went to eating the fry. So I pulled out as many as I could. A bunch of them were actually in the filter socks, which helped out tremendously. I guess they were a good 200 or so in the socks, and then I netted out another 200 or 300. So I've got 400 or 500 that are growing out in the vat around the back. But yeah, he's doing good. He kind of hates being by himself. I think he's a lot happier with her in there, but until her mouth heals up, I don't want to take the chance. Just because she hasn't had the best track record with spawning and all that good stuff. So I figured, the first spawn was 800 or so, and like I said, I've got around 500 pulled, so I'm in no rush, no hurry to get these guys going again. But yeah, anyway, she's down here. You can see if she'll come over here. Let's see if I can get her over there. You see her mouth is looking a whole lot better. She's got a little ding on the bottom, and then the inside was looked like it was a little tore up. But yeah, Conway helped me out tremendously. we first started treating her. We were treating her with kanamycin and doxycycline, and she seemed to react to it pretty good, but it never completely went away. So you can get a close up. He sent me a new med that he's been experimenting around with that for whatever reason seemed to really have an effect. She's on her 3rd dose right now, and she's definitely acting a whole lot better, kind of headed in the right direction. I'm sorry it's so dark down here. I took one of the lights off this tank to kind of give her a little space where she wasn't so brightly lit, kind of let her settle in, feel a little bit more comfortable. But the good sign is when we've been taking her out, I've been giving her baths and Paragard and all that good stuff. She's splashing me to death. So she seems to be in good spirits, feisty as ever. And she eats well, so I'm thankful for that. But yeah, that's what we got going on here. I'll have to go probably through the whole dividing and repairing. Hopefully it won't take as long. But especially with with the swimmers that we do have in here with them. I'm hoping they just kind of snap back in, but either way, we're going to divide, and then I'm going to, you know, referee and monitor. And well, these tanks are empty for the moment. This is actually a new rack. I've actually got another one that I'm going to build. I'm going to put one on the other side of the tank as well. They're 220 longs, and they're cool because they're bottom drilled. So we run the drip. You can see there's a drip line right here. I got it shut off for right now. I got to reseal that bottom tank because it was leaking a little bit the last time I filled it up. But the cool thing is, we'll drip in here, it'll overflow, go down to the bottom tank, overflow, and then it'll go out into the drip pan that goes out into the garden. A lot of people ask about the drip system. This is actually, these two tanks and these two tanks here are all on one zone. This is another zone. This is zone 1. Zone 1 is this tank and this tank. This one has, I believe, 9 drip emitters on it, and this one has 3. Oh, I'm sorry, this one actually has 2. These will each get 1. Most of it will probably come from this one, and then every other tank I have around here, most of the the small tanks get 1, the medium-sized tanks get 2. Anything that's like 120 or 125 gets 2 to 3, and then the 220 over here has 5, I believe, on it right now. A lot of people ask how I actually set up the system. I don't actually use drip emitters anymore. I used them for a while. This is basically just it's the same drip irrigation that you can buy, Lowe's, Home Depot, anything like that. But instead of using the drip emitter, I use these valves right here. You can shut each line completely off, or we can go all the way to wide open. Drip emitters work, but they tend to get clogged. They're kind of finicky, and when you put a bunch of them on a system, they tend to, the longer you run your line, the less water you're actually going to have coming out at the end. So typically what I do is this line is this zone obviously is a small enough zone where you wouldn't notice a difference, but let's say I run around the room, these tanks here, and I get to the last tank. If I'm running a drip, an actual drip emitter, the drip emitters on the front 2 tanks are okay, and then you start to lose pressure there, and then you really have weak pressure here. With these little valves, I can kind of dial in the system at will. I can dial in however much I want. Obviously, the front tanks on the system, I pull back a little bit, and then the tanks that are towards the end of the system, I can open it up a little bit, to get more water in there. And the cool thing about using the valves, like I said, is I can shut it down completely tank to tank. I don't have to worry about turning the drip off, because everything out here, all these tanks are all on, even the vats and stuff, they're all on all getting water every day. So a lot of people ask how I run it, and that's at least the best success that I've had. Now, one thing that I will say, because I had one of those really stupid moments, this tank had leaked on me about a year ago, and I did a reseal on it, and I came out the day before we left for LA the last time, and there was water running about the back again. So being that I only had about 2 hours to pack and get to the airport, I assumed that this tank was leaking again. If you run a drip system, check your lines. One of these had actually fallen down back behind the tank, and I don't have this running wide open. Every 4 hours it comes on for either 2 or 3 hours, depending on how this, the system's set up. So long story short, it was basically running down the back of the tank. So I pulled and drained this thing for nothing, but the good thing is I found out that I didn't need a reseal. So note to self, always check that. And since we're on this tank, this is Clyde. This is our big male RTM. He's actually got a new female coming. As soon as I can hook up with my buddy, I've got an umbi he wants, and I'm going to swap out for the female that he's got. He's got a couple cutter eye in here. I kind of throw cutter eyes in, a lot of the tanks, just to kind of give him some targets, give him a little bit of company. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a female in here with him real soon. Up above here we have, this is our first Feste grow out tank, grow out pairing slash, a lot of these fish are hopefully going to be moving real soon, because we have our dominant female, obviously in what appears to be breeding dress, and her tube is in fact dropping. And then we have the big male over here. He's actually a Daytona aquarium fish. Really cool fish, different kind of profile. Super shy though, and obviously she is not. All the rest of these fish are from the same spawn as her, and you can see they're all showing, you know, subdominant coloration. They're all trying to blend in and not piss her off. But all of these fish, except for him, are Scarlet and Aries offspring. She actually spawned with him once. She laid eggs in this pot, and I never really saw him do his part of the deal. I saw him hanging out in the pot a good bit, but I never really saw him, you know, fertilize or any of that. So first time, and she's obviously one of the smallest females that I've ever actually spawned. She's only about, you know, 3.5 or 4 inches. So you know, not too bad for a first crack at it. All the rest of these fish will probably be moving on real soon. They're actually really nice looking fish, but now that she's all fired up and her tube's dropping, they're all just kind of blend in and try not to aggravate her. So hopefully we'll get a spawn out of these guys real soon. And moving on to the next tank. Sorry about the glare. This is where we get in the tanks behind me syndrome. We have a little bit of this and that, and the other thing all kind of in here. I've got 2 L75 plecos. One's in there, and the other one always hides out in that skull. We have a ginormous little lion's eye who never misses a meal. A couple ribulatus that were actually from this male. We lost the female, and you can see he's still sunken in. They, out of the blue, she stopped eating. She started spitting food. Long story short, we battled a little bit of internal parasites. I treated both of them, and she finally succumbed. He finally came around, and he finally started eating. So he's actually been putting size back on. But it's still an uphill battle. You know, a long way to go with him. It was a shame for us to lose the female, but for whatever reason, I don't have the best luck with ribulatus and internal stuff. So we upped the water changes on this. This one sees about 100% a day, or I should say, not water changes, but at least dilution. But yeah, he's definitely on his way back. This right here is a cool fish. It's the only one that I kept out of the Islanum Trimax spawn. We had a female Islanum that just wanted to spawn with anything but Islanum. She tried to spawn with a Feste. I stopped her. She spawned with a Carpentus, and then she finally spawned with one of our male Trimax. I have no idea what this fish is going to end up looking like, but I figured I'd hang on to it at least to, you know, to kind of check it out and see. Obviously, I won't be selling this fish. I won't be spawning this fish, but it might be a cool fish just to, you know, have as a pet. A couple ribulatus that are actually from that male and the female that we lost. But yeah, this is just kind of a, you know, this and that and the other thing tank. Down underneath here, we have most of our Polleni grow outs from this pair over here, which I don't know if they're going to pull a no-show on me or not. We'll see when we get over there. Let me actually grab a little bit of food. Sorry about the camera, guys. See if these guys want to eat. These guys have actually been eating small cichlid. They've been pounding small cichlid, I should say. But we probably have about 30, maybe 35 in here. They usually never miss a chance to eat. There you go, you can see them. Some of these guys are really starting to look nice. So I'll probably keep a handful of these, and then I'll probably move the rest on. Their first spawn was pretty big. I was surprised to have such a small female have such a large spawn. There were probably, I'm guessing 80 or 90 in the spawn, and sold off a good bit of them. But I'm gonna keep these guys because I got a soft spot for Paratilapia, one of the cooler non-South American, non-Central American fish that I keep. But yeah, I'll probably start selling these. Well, I'm actually selling them locally right now, but if anyone wants any shipped, I can probably start doing that once the weather gets a little bit warmer. I don't want to really push my luck during winter months. So come spring, if I still have a bunch of these, I'll probably be moving them on. And we move on to the next tank, which, as you can see, are the nanos, as predicted. mostly a no-show. They're all hanging out by the heater in the back. These guys did not like being moved out here for whatever reason, but they'll come out if there's no camera and there's no sound and all that good stuff. Other than that, they all pretty much cleaned the back wall. You can see them all around the heater there in the back. Basically exactly the same as the 75 in the office. But anyways, won't waste any time there. Moving on up to the next tank. This is another kind of general grow out, this and that and the other thing. We have 3 umbies and 1 cynospilium, which is very, very unphotogenic in this tank. 2 umbies that are in here are from Prime and B. Being that they were related, I didn't really keep a whole lot of them, but I was curious to see how they would end up turning out. This is the female that's actually going to be moving on. I'm trading my buddy for the female RTM. And she's actually a really cool fish, but I just don't have a whole lot of use for a bunch of umbies. I already have a bunch of umbies, and I don't want to have anything that I can't house long term. So I figure he needs her, and I'll be more than happy to move her on. But yeah, this tank is kind of one of my Swiss Army knife. There's another one from Prime and B you can see up in here. I use this tank for everything other than actual spawning. This is either a holding tank. It's a great grow out tank because you can put a lot of fish in here. It's not my favorite footprint. It's a 110. It's really tall. If you try to reach the bottom, your pits are going to get wet. But you definitely can fit a lot of fish in here, so that's kind of what I use it for. Either stuff that's actually being sold, stuff that's going to be moving. The cynospilium is actually up for sale too, so everything in this tank is either going to be moving out of this tank or is spoken for. Anyways, moving on to the next tank. This is pretty exciting, and this actually happened within the last 24 hours. So this female is actually a female I got back from Chris Vaughn. Sorry about the reflection there. This female was from Scarlet and Triton. When I had sold off all the fish, I realized I hadn't kept any Scarlet and Triton females. I kept males. And Chris was good enough to be able to return one of the females that I had given him back. And as you can see, her tube is down, and she is wanting to spawn with this wild-caught male. Chris struggled with this wild-caught male for a while. I believe Brian Franklin had this male as well. They've been in this tank one day, literally 24 hours, so he's kind of slow going, slow getting on food, and he actually didn't eat for weeks. Probably a good month, 5 weeks at least that I'm aware of. And then Chris finally got him to take some food. I believe he fed him some krill, and he took to it. So slow going with these guys. I'm kind of hesitant to let him spawn, only because I want to get a little bit more meat on his bones before they do it. But I kind of wanted to introduce them to the tank and kind of let them get their bearings. The other 3 or 4 fish that are in here are also Scarlet and Aries. More targets, just something for them to kind of not focus on each other so much while they settle in. But he's been doing okay, slowly but surely. Like I said, he's thin, he's still sunken in, but I'm pretty sure we can turn this guy around. Especially since now he's taking some food and he's actually taking a liking to this female. So hopefully we'll get a pair out of these guys. I don't know. I'm not sure whether I should let them spawn or not. I'm still on the fence. I may divide and kind of let them do their thing through the divider, at least until I can get some meat on them. And then down below we have our Poleni pair, which, as predicted, are going to almost be a no-show. You can see the male sitting up here. They really don't like the camera for whatever reason. Female's right there under the box. I'm sure you're probably going to have a hard time seeing her. This is an interesting pair. The larger the tank that I put them in, the worse I've had spawning luck with. So I tried a 125, didn't work. Tried a 120, didn't work. Tried a 110, she laid eggs 3 times in the middle of the sand. Not on anything, literally just dead center in the middle of the tank. I moved them to the 100-gallon, and they spawned twice. And then I moved them to this tank, and she laid eggs the first time, and I'm not real sure what happened to them. So They may be moving back over to the 100 gallon if I don't get any luck out of them here. Last night they were doing a ton of head shaking late at night. They seem to come alive after around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. These lights actually don't come on until 11, 12 in the afternoon, and this tank actually has moonlights on it, so these guys they get a 2-hour sunrise and a 2-hour sunset, and then after that they get about an hour and a half, 2 hours of moonlight. So around 10, 11 o'clock at night is when these guys seem to be most active, or at least last night that's when they were doing all the head shaking. You can see her, she's acting like she's kind of ready to go. She's been kind of running him around, pushing him around a little bit. He never really harasses her much at all, but she definitely harasses him. So hopefully we'll get something else going out of these guys. But like I said, I've still got a whole pile of grow outs to deal with. But definitely a cool pair, and for whatever reason they seem to really take to the smaller tanks. And then last but not least, we have our ornatum Fishroom crew. There are 10 in here. I'm sure that the biggest wild was not going to come out. You can see his tail sticking out back there in his little cave. Very, very unphotogenic fish. The small ones, those two there and this one right here, were wild Fishroom I got from Wet Spot. All of the rest of these guys are F1 ornatum that I got last year from Mike Sicklets. I figured, worst case scenario, I'll throw them all in the tank together, and that way I can at least kind of compare and contrast, because I know very little about these fish, which I think is most the case with most keepers, being that we don't even know whether we have Fishroom or whether we have ornatum. There's times where they all look exactly the same, and then there's other times where you can see some subtle differences, but I've also noticed that as these guys grow, they tend to, the differences between them, tend to lessen and change. The coloration usually doesn't pop. I wish that wild would actually come out, because you'd see a drastic difference. He's a good maybe 5-6 inches. The rest of these guys are all in the 3-inch range, and then obviously the small Fishroom are 1.5, 2 inches. So, but anyways, that's what we got going on right now, and I'll be doing my best to get another update sooner than later. Sorry this one was so long, but I figured it's been a while, and I'd at least kind of try to cover everything. I'll leave you with the old scarlet female. So thanks for coming by. Be sure to check out all the other aquatic support members. I'll tag them down in the comments. And thanks for watching.